Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. This morning, the Indians extended the contract of Terry Francona by 2 years, bringing him to the Cleveland Indians managership until at least 2022. And then they went and put up one of the worst possible lineups on the field, taking on the Chicago White Sox with two-time Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber on the mound. The lineup had Jordan Luplow batting third, along with Greg Allen, Max Moroff, Eric Stamets, and Roberto Perez. Kluber didn't have it today. He's now 0-2 for the year. They lost 8-3 to the White Sox and are standing at 2-3 on the season. I know it's too early to complain, but even if Francisco Lindor does come back in less than the 1 month's time, things are now going to get better very soon, or else. Now let's see if Francona can pull off some magic, because they're going to need it. We're going to talk some football. Mary Kay Cabot is here. More Sports and Les Levine is on the air.
I will say this, I have no ambition to ever work somewhere else. I mean, there's going to come a time when I can't do this job the way I want to because of age, or, you know, that may happen at some point, but I don't have any ambition to ever go somewhere else. That's because of the people here. Well, and it's not just, I mean, obviously, but I mean, ownership has a big say in when you sign contracts like this, so obviously I'm appreciative of that. I love working here. You know, you asked the question about the lineup. We're going to get challenged. Well, I'm not afraid of that. We're going to try to figure things out together. Hopefully we do a good job of it. Sometimes we struggle, but we're going to do it together. And I enjoy doing that with people that I really care about.
Worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine. It's a Wednesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine, exclusively on cleveland.com. Here for the next hour, Mary Kay Cabot will join us momentarily. We'll talk Cleveland Browns and whatever's on her mind. We're glad to have her with us since our move here to cleveland.com. We'll check in with Mary Kay momentarily. As you just heard and saw, Terry Francona signs an additional 2 years, taking him to 2022. Surprised a lot of people. You take a look at his success rate here in Cleveland. Now in his 7th season, his record of .547 and .427. The record is the best in the American League since he started here in Cleveland. 6-time all-time wins in franchise history. We'll take a look at that in a moment. And his winning percentage, you see right there, is .562. It's third among all-time Cleveland Indians managers. 3 American League Central titles all in a row, and 4 postseason appearances. That, of course, would include that wild card game against Tampa a couple of years ago. Here's the longest managerial run for Cleveland Indians managers. You see Lou Boudreau took over 1942, and only 24 years old at the time. His tenure, the same as Mike Hargrove, 9 years. Hargrove 91 to 99. And then Tris Speaker, also a player-manager, 1919. He won the World Series in 1920, and he served 8 years with the Indians. You see his record, and now you see Terry Francona, 7 years, from 2013 to 2019, and it will continue on at least until 2022. I'm rather surprised by that. I was surprised that he ever came here in the first place 7 years ago, but his relationship with the front office and the ownership must be pretty good, because obviously he could get a managerial post anywhere in baseball if one would come open. So congratulations to the Indians who took care of that, so there's no question who's in charge. And he's not just in charge of the major league team that he puts on the field, but also he works with the minor league system, and he's very involved in that. All right, so you talk about the team he put on the field. It was ugly today. Indians lose by a score of 8-3, 8-13-3 for Chicago. The Indians 3-5-1. Kluber didn't have it today. 3 1/3 innings. There you see what he did. Santana 2 for 4. He continues his hot hitting. And Abreu for Chicago, 2 for 5 with a double and 3 RBIs. Fielding shaky by both teams today. Indians will take on Toronto, beginning of a 4-game series, 6 o'clock tomorrow night at Progressive Field. 216-575-0403 is the number to call if you have questions for Mary Kay Cabot. She is the person in the know, so we're waiting to do that. We'll check in. Obviously, you're aware of Jason Whitlock, who claimed the nationally known guy, and he said, I think he's just doing this for fun or just to cause a ripple out there. He's saying that the Browns are getting too much publicity and they're overrated and they're not as good as people are making them out to be. I'm sure Mary Kay has an idea or 2 or 3 about that. So the Indians a loser today. When we come back, Mary Kay Cabot of the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com will join us for the next hour. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine with new content posted each and every day. Mary Kay joins us exclusively. More Sports and Les Levine continues on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Here you have birthdays for today. Earl Lloyd, one of the first African Americans to play in the NBA. Sam Enchanted Evening, 1947. Mike Pruitt, born in the state, the former Indian Jay Bruce. Jason Kipnis, who's going to play down in Columbus starting on Friday. And Cam Chancellor, all celebrating birthdays today, which would be the 3rd of April. 216-575-0403 if you want to talk to Mary Kay Cabot, or me for that matter, but I'm guessing you want to talk to Mary Kay, because she knows what's going on. We'll bring her in. Mary Kay, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Les. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for joining us. You've been a busy young lady these days.
Yeah, you know, not only did we have the big press conference the other day in Berea, but right before that, I was out at the owners' meetings in Arizona. Got a chance to sit at breakfast and talk to Freddie Kitchens there for 1 solid hour. So that was really cool. And then the day before that, we had John Dorsey for a while, and then we also talked to Jimmy and Dee Haslam. So we really got sort of a State of the Browns address.
Did Freddie wear his hat, the Brownie Elf hat?
Yes, he did. He had the Brownie Elf hat on, but Peter John Baptiste, the PR guy, made him wear a sport coat to the event. So he wanted to have the hoodie on, but he acquiesced and wore the sport coat.
Well, then yesterday he had the Indians block C, if you noticed that, because there seemed to be a little controversy allegedly between the Browns and the Indians, and Freddie was ready for all comers on that one.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. You know, I think he's doing a really good job of winning over Cleveland, and just that hat, I think, was just another step towards him getting the fans on his side and rallying around him a little bit.
I know how he can really get them on his side, and that is win some football games, because that's really the only thing he hasn't done yet.
Well, no, he hasn't done that yet. I mean, some people forget, even at the coaches' breakfast, someone was asking him about, you know, winning those games last year, and that here he is picking up where he left off, and he had to remind the questioner that, no, I wasn't the interim head coach last year. I was only the interim offensive coordinator. And I think sometimes people do tend to forget that, that this will be his first opportunity to be in that lead chair, just running the whole entire show and everything that he's going to have on his plate. So it will be a lot, but I think Freddie's ready for it.
Mary Kay Cabot is with us. Mary Kay, has this been the most interesting and fun off-season since you've been covering the Browns, or is, with all the news being broken, is it become a tough one for you?
No, it hasn't been tough at all. It's been fun. It's been exciting. There have been other very exciting off seasons as well. I mean, even when you just look back to last year with them drafting Baker Mayfield, I think that generated a lot of excitement for the Browns. And there have been other years where they're heading into the season and they've got 2 first-round picks and they're signing big-time free agents and things like that. But this definitely is right up there with any of the most exciting ones. And everyone was already really fired up about Baker Mayfield. And then just when you add Odell Beckham Jr. to the mix, it just, takes it up to a whole new level. So I'm very happy for Browns fans because it really looks like the future is bright.
It really does. But now you get somebody throwing some water on the fire here. And that's Jason Whitlock, and the nationally known reporter. And he says the Browns do have a first-time head coach, an undersized quarterback with a boulder on his shoulder, 2 number 1 receivers who want the ball all the time. Things could get ugly quickly in Cleveland. Well, I don't know about that, although we don't know who they're playing or what the schedule looks like. And you say it could get ugly. There may be some fairly winnable games. I keep hearing about Cleveland going to New England for the first game. I don't want to see that happen. I want the Browns to have some wins under their belt before they take on New England in New England.
Yeah, the other thing about that is, do you really want Bill Belichick to have the whole entire offseason from April, when the schedule is announced, until the opener, to try to pick apart Baker Mayfield and really try to tear him down and find the holes in his game, which right now it doesn't seem like there are many. But do you really want that for Baker Mayfield?
No.
Of course, he would be up for the challenge. Baker would. But I think Bill Belichick would be burning the midnight oil,
right,
trying to shut these guys down or slow them down. And, he has done a nice job against Patrick Mahomes and other high-flying offenses, Jared Goff and things like that. So, I'm not entirely certain that the Browns would want that either. I would rather see them play either the Steelers or the Ravens in the opening game.
Give me Cincinnati.
I actually think I would like to see the Ravens sort of pick up where they left off in that final game last year. And it almost seemed like a changing of the guard in the AFC North. Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield going head-to-head, and the way that game ended, and it was so up and down and back and forth. I would like to see those two guys.
All right, so what Harbaugh said the other day about the Browns having the best talent, at least on paper, is that coach talk, or is that? I think it's dangerous from his point of view, because if he's saying the Browns have it, that means that Pittsburgh doesn't, and Pittsburgh may not like hearing that. So was it coach speak, or do you think he was sincere?
No, I think he was sincere about it. I think, when you look at it on paper and you're looking at Kareem Hunt and Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Nick Chubb, Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, I think when you're just looking at it player for player, you can make that statement. And actually, I asked John Harbaugh about that, and I got that quote out of him. And, I was a little bit surprised. But let me tell you, the tone of it was, but let's wait and see. They have the best talent on paper, but it's all about who is the best team, not who has the most talent. It's about who's going to be the best team when all is said and done, and who's going to win the division. He was basically trying to say, we intend to do that.
All right, so let's go back to Jason Whitlock. He thinks the Browns are going to be dysfunctional. He's predicting that Odell Beckham will be a problem child because he may not get enough touches, may not get enough targets. So what is your response to what Whitlock did say?
Well, first of all, I actually think it's good that there are some people out there that are tempering the enthusiasm for the Browns just a little bit. They don't need to spend the whole entire offseason with everyone praising them, patting them on the back. I mean, in actuality, Baker Mayfield does way better when he's got someone like Jason Whitlock saying what he just said. I mean, you can believe that Baker Mayfield will probably, screenshot that or somehow keep that on his phone or put that up in his locker. He needs that. He loves that kind of thing. And when he doesn't have his game face on, with someone opposing him like that, he finds a way to get his game face on, the way that he did last year, getting all fired up against Hugh Jackson and things like that. He'll manufacture it if nobody makes it easy and does it for him. Yeah. So in terms of Jason Whitlock, Colin Cowherd, keep bringing it on if you're Baker Mayfield, because that's exactly what he needs. He thrives off of it. But I also think it's good for someone to throw a little bit of water on this, because, the truth of the matter is they really haven't done anything yet, and they'll be the first to admit that. They went 7-8-1 last year. They did not beat a winning team down the stretch. Those last 8 games that Greg Williams and Freddie coached in, they didn't beat a winning team. They only beat one winning team all of last season. And they beat one winning team. The teams that were superior to them, or at least the defenses that were superior to others that they had played, Baker Mayfield threw 3 interceptions in each of those games against the Texans and the Ravens. Of course, he threw 3 touchdown passes also against the Ravens in that season finale. But, he can't do those kinds of things if he wants to beat the good teams. So I think it's good for them to kind of, have people saying something other than, oh, they're so great, they're the team to beat, they're going to win the AFC North, they're going to challenge for the Super Bowl. I have no problem with it.
Well, I have some advice for Cleveland fans. Maybe you can help me on this one. And I know they're, unlike what you said, and I totally agree about not playing New England game 1. We got some cocky fans out there, and they'll say, well, we got to play them anyway, so we may as well play them first. My suggestion is, if they get offended by the national media putting down the Browns, just look away, just go find something else to do, because their opinion is no different than my opinion, your opinion, or anybody else's. I don't think they should be upset about it, and they're going to stir things up. Just, you got to ignore it if you're a fan.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to ignore those sorts of things if you're a fan. It's time for Browns fans to have some fun, to feel good about themselves. I mean, all these years, Les, you watching these fans, me watching these fans, sitting in that stadium, looking out and seeing 70,000 sad people in the factory of sadness, those days need to be over. I mean, this needs to be a time of joy and a time of fun. We have lived through those good times here. A lot of people have that are watching this show right now. We know what it's like here when this town is painted orange and brown. It's wonderful for the fans. I'm looking forward to all those millennials climbing back on board. And, what a greater way to do that than to trade for a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., who
he's one
really
of them.
Speaks to that.
Yeah, he's one of them.
Really, absolutely, 100%.
But
speaks to that generation.
Don't lose the Factory of Sadness. That's such a great name. You don't want that to go away.
Well, for now, it can be the Factory of Gladness, or whatever you want to say. But I'll tell you, I mean, I have kids that age that are sort of in that millennial age, in the 18 to 22-year-old range, and they are so excited about the Cleveland Browns in a way that they never have been before.
They've never seen a winner.
And so are all of their friends, and it just goes on and on and on and on. So looking forward to getting that lost generation back on the bandwagon. Yeah,
you'll accept them then, right? You're not going to say, where were you when we needed you?
No, I'm not a fan per se, obviously, because of the job that I have, but I'm happy for Browns fans in this town. It's about time. And I'll tell you, when I was at the owners' meetings, Jimmy and Dee Haslam, I have never seen them so relaxed before in my entire life. They looked happy. They were no longer the laughing stock. They were almost morose in the other NFL owners' meetings that I was at with them. We would sit down with them for the little media powwow that they do with us. There's only like 4 or 5 of us that go out to these meetings and cover them. And, you walk in, you sit in this room with them, and, they know that they're going to get this barrage of questions about, what a poor job they've been doing and how are they going to get it turned around, and do they have people in the building that actually like each other and can work together. And this time they were just happy and relaxed and laughing, and, they're different. So it starts up top. The tone of the team starts up top. And I'll tell you, just from their demeanor, you can just tell that good times are ahead.
Well, we talked about Jason Whitlock on a national situation, but what about the other people nationally, the people who followed their teams into Arizona? Were they extremely were they praising the Browns for the most part, or were they taking a Whitlock point of view that they haven't proven anything yet?
there are some people, there are a few rumblings here and there about, maybe the Browns shouldn't get ahead of themselves and get a little too big for their britches. And I will tell you, the people that are trying to temper that enthusiasm a little bit more than anybody, John Dorsey, Freddie Kitchens, they're the ones that are saying we haven't done anything yet. So I do think that that's good that they are striking that note and taking that tone. But for the most part, national media, I mean, everybody was coming up to me and saying, oh, wow, you finally have a good team to cover. It's about time. You're so lucky. You finally have something great to write about and all those things. So I would say the overwhelming sentiment, the overwhelming view of the Cleveland Browns is they have arrived and it is their time.
All right, when we get back, we'll see what Mary Kay has to say about Freddie Kitchens, whether he can lead this team to where it needs to be, and we'll do that when we get back. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of harness racing every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday evenings with a post time of 6 p.m. The Road to the Derby contest every Saturday through April 20th. You can scout this year's Kentucky Derby contenders for a chance to win cash prizes. It's free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. We'll continue on with Mary Kay Cabot covering the Cleveland Browns. We'll find out her thoughts on Freddie Kitchens and more. More sports and less Levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Naturestone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Naturestone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Naturestone is the affordable basement floor solution that beautifies your home.
Get Naturestone installed in your home by the end of March and get up to 50% off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Naturestone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
This is our team, and I truly believe that. It's our team. I'm just kind of the front man, because if those guys in the locker room don't hold each other accountable, if our coaches don't hold their position groups accountable, and the players amongst themselves don't hold each other accountable, we're not going to have anything anyway. So at the core of everything, it's what our team is. It's what our offense is. It's what our defense is. I truly believe the letter I is a dangerous proposition when you start using it in terms of describing yourself in a team setting. So we don't do that here. It's always we, us, our. All right. So that's what it is now. And that's what it became when I got hired. And we weren't hiring anybody that didn't have that same kind of outlook on things. And we want to create that environment for our players. And whenever we do that, we will have something. Right now, we're just a bunch of good individual players. All right? Yeah, our roster looks great on paper. Whoop-de-hell. All right? But at the end of the day, we better be a good team. And you start building that during this time of the year. I mean, I think we're talented. Just like Coach Harbaugh said, we're talented. And there's a lot of talent in this league. But you can go down through all the free agents we signed, and I probably shouldn't say this, but just see how many playoff games they've won. So it takes more than individuals. I know that for a fact. I know. Can I make a comment on another player in the league that I was with at some point? All right, just getting the rules. See, like how I follow rules? Ask Larry how many playoff games he won before 2008. All right, it's when they decided they wanted to become a team. This is the ultimate team game. I know that sounds like a cliche, but it truly is. You see Hall of Famers all the time that never won a playoff game, you know, so it's about the team. Make no mistake about that.
Hey, Mary Kay Cabot is with us, cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. Mary Kay, do you have the rights to the T-shirt that says "Whoop-de hell"?
I think he could sell some of those right now. He should probably get on that right away.
You know, the more serious he gets, the more he loses that Southern accent. Do you notice that, or am I the only one?
Oh, I think the accent will be out in full force this year once he gets a little fired up and after games and things like that. But here was the thing about that press conference that was almost a little odd. Several of the beat writers, like I said, we spent an hour with him just last week at the NFL owners meetings, and we had asked him everything that we could possibly think of in that hour. So this press conference I thought was almost a little bit more subdued because, you know, there were people like me, Tony Grossi, Nate Ulrich, Pat McManaman. We had already just spent this full hour with him, and, you know, it's not like we, you know, had that much else to ask him. So there were actually some very unusual lulls in between some questions, and so it just didn't have the same real sense of urgency maybe that it will as we go forward.
All right, when you were in Arizona, was he fazed by any question? Was there a question he didn't know an answer to, or one that he answered that you said, no, wait, that's not right? What was your perception of him in Arizona?
No, I think he did a great job. I mean, he was very funny. He had a lot of good one-liners. He held court. He had a lot of national media coming up and asking questions. A lot of them asked the same question over and over and over. The big question he kept getting is, what about the expectations? What about the expectations? And he kept kidding around and saying, I'm scared to death. And so, you know, he was trying to keep it light. He was just kidding about that. But he had a lot of other one-liners. He was talking about how, you know, he thinks country songs were written for him. And, you know, so he did a really nice job with some of that. So we're going to get some of the whoop-de hells and things like that. It'll be fun. I think he'll be fun to cover. The other thing about the owners' meetings, he really emphasized over and over again, kind of what you saw him say there, that he is not about anybody that's for themselves. He is not about I. He's all about the we, and that's basically what he's looking for. So he is not going to tolerate Odell or Jarvis or anybody wondering if they're getting enough catches, if someone's getting the ball enough. I mean, look, there might be a time when Kareem Hunt gets back here where they have to figure out who's going to be the workhorse and who's going to get the ball more than the other guy in terms of Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and who knows if Duke Johnson is even around at that point. So he's got a lot of guys that he has to kind of divide up the ball to, and he doesn't want anybody worrying about that, and he's not going to let them do that. This is about winning football games. One day you might get 8 catches, the next week you might get 2, and he's not going to want to hear about it.
All right, so there have been a couple of coaches that came in, young coaches over the last 2 years. So the question is, can Freddie Kitchens do what Doug Peterson and Sean McVay have done? Let's take a look at the former Browns quarterback. That's Doug Peterson. His first year, he goes 7-9 with Philadelphia. Second year, he goes 13-3 and wins the Super Bowl with the Eagles. Then you've got another coach, and that's Sean McVay, who got a lot of publicity last year. He had an 11-5 record his first year. Then he gets to the Super Bowl, loses to Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. So the question is, can Freddie Kitchens stay in that same area where Peterson and McVay did, because he's going to be compared to those guys for the next couple of years, I would presume.
Well, I think the key is, who is your quarterback? I think that is the whole key with a head coach. Any head coach will tell you that they're only, or if they're telling you the truth, they're only as good, really, as the quarterback that they have. I mean, look at Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan is a good football coach, but he's a way better football coach with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm than he is with anybody else. You know, if you look at his record with Jimmy and without Jimmy, the record's not so great without him. When you look at Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz, he's a very, very good quarterback, and that helped him. Again, same thing with Sean McVay. It's a lot easier to get to the Super Bowl when you have a #1 pick. So I think that's the thing that Freddie has going for him more than anything, he's got Baker Mayfield. And if Baker can build on the game on the production that he had last year, then I think Freddie will be fine, Baker will be fine, and the Cleveland Browns will win a lot of games. It is a very pivotal year for a quarterback to go from rookie year to second year, because now they have a book on you. Now they have film on you. And when I look at Baker's game, I don't see a lot of holes. I don't see a lot of things that he can't do well. But you can bet that the genius defensive minds in the NFL will be doing everything that they possibly can to try to find out how to contain him, how to make him less effective. So that will be pivotal going into this second year.
Yeah, Baker had several games where he didn't get his pants dirty at all, and the line must have been doing something right. We haven't talked about needing an extra quarterback this year for the first time in a long time. What's your thought on? You do need a backup, though. If your main quarterback gets hurt, you're in big trouble. Is Drew Stanton the guy? Or are they looking to draft somebody in the third, fourth, or fifth round, or are they looking still in free agency? Or are they going to be happy with Stanton?
Well, Freddie Kitchens is very close with Drew Stanton, and he really believes in him. And Drew has been able to come in and hold the fort down and win games over the past several years when he's been called upon to do so. So I think Freddie has a huge comfort level with him. Having said that, they will add a third quarterback, someone that actually probably can step in and start a game for them if need be. And that's just, I mean, you can't afford to do it any other way these days. So I think they will either sign a young quarterback who's out there right now as a street free agent, basically, such as maybe a Tom Savage, someone like that you can get for relatively cheap, or they will draft a quarterback. Now, this front office was raised by Ron Wolf, the great Hall of Fame executive. So they come from the Ron Wolf family, and the philosophy there was to draft a quarterback whenever you can and develop them. Draft young quarterbacks, develop them. If you can't use them yourself, you can trade them for currency. So instead of trying to find some whatever safety in the fifth round that is probably not going to make your team, look for a young quarterback that is flying under the radar, develop him, turn him into something, and then maybe try to get something for him.
Mary Kay Cabot from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com is with us. When we get back on More Sports and Less Levine, we're going to find out what she thinks are their areas that they still need to address, whether it's free agency, whether it's the draft or a trade. And we'll do that when we get back. More Sports and Less Levine continues. The voicemail of Truth and Reason is right up there. 216-200-6650 is the number to call. Call anytime, 24 hours a day. Leave us a message, and we'll use them on a future show. That's 216-200-6650, the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll come back in a moment. Mary Kay Cabot with us. You'll be watching More Sports and Less Levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can also you can email us at reallesslevine@gmail.com. You can do that right now if you have a question for Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Mary Kay, we're going to kind of run down the areas, the units that need to be taken care of, or maybe they're okay without being taken care of. And we'll just give us a couple word responses as we come up with these names. Let's start with the quarterback, and that, of course, would be Baker Mayfield. Your thoughts on him?
I think he's going to have another great season. I think he'll build on what he did last year. And how can you go wrong when you're throwing to Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham? I mean, he used to tell us last year, oh, you know what, I'm fine with what I have. Well, he'll be way more fine.
He'll be more finer. All right, you got your running backs. Duke Johnson requesting a trade, but right now he's here at least until Kareem Hunt gets back, or at least, or they may have to find somebody else. Your thoughts on the running game right now?
You know, what a great combo. Nick Chubb, Duke Johnson, you have a little bit of everything. I think Nick will build on the season that he had last year. Great offensive line in front of him. Duke can do a little bit of everything. Kareem, if he can get back and get on the field, rehabilitate himself, he might be a better runner than Nick, and even a better receiver out of the backfield than Duke.
Any late word on the commissioner and what he's going to do with Duke? What he's going to do with Kareem Hunt as far as hanging around the building? Have you heard anything? Is there a timetable on that?
You know what? I think to a certain extent he'll let him be with the Browns, and I think that's as it should be. They need the structure of the team. They need their support system around them. And I think that he is really seriously considering letting Kareem do that, especially because he's here in his hometown. Right. More so than anything, I think he needs to be with the team.
All right, what about the wide receiving corps? Is it the best in the league? You're talking about Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, and, of course, your tight end, David Njoku.
Yeah, and everybody forgets about Antonio Callaway.
Oh, yeah?
I think Antonio Callaway is poised to take a big step up this year. I see him on social media working very hard in the offseason. Now he's got to say, hey, what about me? Don't forget about me. Everybody's talking about Jarvis and Odell. I think Antonio will step up and catch some attention in his own right.
And he should be open quite often based on what he's got around him.
Absolutely.
All right, let's take a look at the offensive line, starting with the left tackle and Greg Robinson. Then you go to Joel Bitonio, J.C. Tretter, Austin Corbett, and Chris Hubbard. I mentioned before not many fans understand offensive line play, but it must have been pretty good last year because Mayfield stayed on his feet. What do you think about this group?
It's a good group. It's a very good group. Everybody's so worried about Austin Corbett, but I'll tell you what, I mean, there's no way that John Dorsey would have traded Kevin Zeitler unless he thought that Austin Corbett was ready to step up into that role. Remember when Joel Bitonio was a young guard? I mean, he stepped in there and did a really, really nice job. That's how they feel about Austin Corbett on that other side. The one place to look at, of course, I think is left tackle. Now, they did give him a one-year, Greg Robinson, a one-year prove-it deal worth about $7 million, but there's only $500,000 guaranteed in that deal. When you look at that, that says to me that they will add some depth. They'll bring in some competition at left tackle. Maybe they'll draft someone at left tackle to push Greg Robinson, and that young player will either win the job or give Greg a run for his money.
All right, in a few moments, we'll take a look at the defensive side of the ball, which has a lot of good things and not so good things. Here you see the defensive line, and you got Vernon and Myles Garrett. Then you got Richardson, a couple of new guys there, and Larry Ogunjobi. What's your first thought about the defensive line?
Very strong, very solid, and I think it was a great move to bring Olivier Vernon in here. He's a veteran. He's been around for a long time. And I think that he will help set the tone for Myles Garrett. I think that it'll be great for Myles to have somebody like that. I also think on the field, Myles needs someone to take a little bit of pressure away from him, a little attention off of him to help him step up his game a little bit. Everybody that I talk to, it seems they always say he needs to get a little bit more of that dog in him. And I think maybe Olivier Vernon will help him find that within himself this year. So I think they'll complement each other very well.
And you've got a new defensive coordinator who was a head coach before. What do you think he thought of when he looking at film and seeing what the Browns do have and what they've done by adding some of these guys?
You know, I think he looked at it, and I think there were guys that he just, thought that he didn't think much of them or enough of them for the Browns to be able to keep them around. Those guys include Jabril Peppers, Emmanuel Ogbah, guys like that. So I really do think Derek Kindred. I think that Steve Wilks had a say in how they are reshaping this defense. He's a very good defensive coordinator. And I didn't even mention I didn't say enough about the defensive tackles. I think Sheldon Richardson is going to be a great addition to the middle of that defensive line, help shore up the run, help disrupt things, bring some pressure up the middle, and also bring out the best in Larry Ogunjobi.
What do you think Ogunjobi's problem was last year?
You know, he sort of tailed off at the end a little bit. He started strong, and then he had a little bit of an injury, and I think he kind of tailed off a little bit. But again, I think with Sheldon inside with him, I think that will help him a lot.
Mary Kay Cabot is with us. Let's take a look at the linebackers, Avery and Schobert and Kirksey. A couple of familiar names. Not too many stick around if you weren't taken by John Dorsey, but you got a couple right there who had been here before.
Yeah, again, I forgot to even mention Jamie Collins gone too. So, I mean, there are some players that started significant amount of games last year that are not even on this team anymore. So the linebacking core is still one to watch. I think they'll continue to add to the linebacking core. I really do. I think you'll see some new faces there probably from the draft. So, yeah, I think they want more big plays, more disruption from their linebackers, and they'll work to get that.
Are they through with free agency at this point?
For the most part, yeah. For the most part,
Okay.
I mean, you know, you'll get
No
one of those
stragglers
guys
out
on
there?
1 year. Yeah, there's a straggler here or there, but for the most part, they're
All right.
pretty much done.
Defensive back, you got safeties in Murray and Demarius Randall. Then you got the cornerbacks Denzel Ward and Terrence Mitchell, and of course you lose Jabril Peppers. Your thoughts on the defensive backfield?
And you also have T.J. Carey, so you know, so he's a very good cornerback as well. You can mix and match some of the pieces and the parts, and they'll continue to bring in good competition there. So I think you will see them draft a couple of defensive backs, maybe a safety or two, a cornerback or two, and then I think, again, you'll see those guys sort of be interchangeable to some extent. And I think Steve Wilkes, coming in with a very strong secondary background, I think he's going to get the most out of these guys. I think you'll see better tackling techniques out of guys like Denzel Ward. He needs to do that, especially with the concussion history. And I think that you'll continue to see the takeaways that we've seen over the last year.
You've covered just about everything, but if I gave you a few seconds, could you come up with where the Browns really, what the unit or what player or position needs to improve more than anybody else?
Well, when we talked to John Dorsey about the kicking situation, he basically kind of defended Greg Joseph a little bit. So it seems like they're going to give him another chance, but they will definitely bring in competition there for him. But the special teams has got to get better. Special teams cannot be a liability for this team anymore. That cost this team a couple of victories last year. I don't see that happening this year. I think that special teams will help get good field position, will help win games this year, and Mike Prefer is a very strong special teams coach.
Well, Freddie Kitchens was adamant about making the special teams do better this year. There's no doubt that he's going to pay much more attention than anybody has done in a long, long time here. What about, there's talk about Phil Dawson. Anything to that at all? I mean, that would be a great PR story if they could do it, but is it a possibility?
You know, I don't know. We didn't really ask John Dorsey about that at the owners' meetings last week. The name did not come up for whatever reason. So I really don't know. At this point, I'm going to say no, but stranger things have happened.
With John Dorsey, you never know what you're going to get when you show up on any given time. When we come back, we're going to check the Facebook question of the day, see what you responded to. And I responded to Sokolowski's University Inn. There's no place better in this town, 5 minutes out of downtown Cleveland, located in Tremont. It's the oldest family-owned and operated restaurant in all of Northeast Ohio. The winner of the James Beard Foundation Award, 11 to 3, Monday through Friday for lunch and Friday and Saturday nights for dinner. It's Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn. Mary Kay Cabot continues with us. We, of course, are seeing more sports and less Levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
The concrete in your garage is uneven, cracked, pitted, and just plain ugly. Transform your garage into a welcoming entryway with Nature Stone flooring. Reduce tracked-in dirt, eliminate puddling and salt damage. Plus, Nature Stone corrects uneven concrete so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of March and get up to 50% off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
All right, this how come quickie, how come if something is new and improved, we bought the darn thing when it was old? Why would you do that? If you bought the product, you liked it, new and improved. Mary Kay, help me out on that. If it's new and improved, why were we buying the old one?
You had no choice.
I guess we had no choice, yeah. They even knew they had a bad product. All right, here's the question of the day on Facebook, and this is the question that we can use any time of the day. The answers are going to change. What's your win prediction for the Browns this season? Carl Brunstetter says 8 or 9 is all I can see until I see them on the mesh as a team. Rick May says 10 and 6 in a playoff appearance. Big Ben has nobody to throw to or point his finger at. I fear that he'll welcome the firing and the Steelers might win 11 games this year. Carl St. John says 9. Melvin Stickle 10 and 6. Danny Jasso 11 and 5. And Dennis Davis, he says I think 10 and 6. I know you don't want to give your official prediction, but what are you thinking right now, Mary Kay?
You know, I think they'll be in double digits. Right now, I am going to say double digits. Let me go with 10. That would be my first impression right now. But if you look back to last year, they were pretty healthy last year. They got a full season for the most part out of Myles Garrett, Baker Mayfield. These guys stayed really, really healthy. So I think that's a key to this season, as long as they can stay healthy. I mean, now Odell, he's been injured each of his last 2 years. So they really need him to stay healthy and some of those other key guys.
Right. What do you hear from either the New York media or anybody else out there who knows Beckham? Do they think it was a good deal? Do they think he'll adapt to Cleveland instead of the bright lights of New York City? What do you think? Or what are you told?
I've talked to people that did not that covered him and did not like him. I've talked to other people that absolutely loved covering him, liked his personality, and loved everything about him. A lot of people have said, get ready for a lot of drama on social media. He kind of wears his emotions out on his sleeve, and we've seen a little bit of that already. He wears his emotions out there. He puts his feelings out there a lot, and you kind of have to have your head on a swivel a little bit to see where he's at, what he's up to, how he's feeling, who he's with. So we'll have to see how all that goes. It will be interesting because, now you've got a number of guys on the team that are sort of stars in their own right. Baker, Jarvis, Odell. And, how will they all mesh together? How will they work together? How will Baker enjoy, sharing the limelight, the spotlight? I think they'll all do okay with that because they're all such good friends. But it'll be interesting to see, how you do all that. But for the most part, I think people enjoyed covering Odell in New York, but they just said kind of be ready for the drama.
All right, I got a response for that next time that happens. Nobody does drama better than Cleveland sports fans and Cleveland media and Cleveland front offices. We do it better than anybody.
Well, we had a little warm-up here with Johnny Manziel.
Right.
So I would have to say, some of the New York media were like, how are you going to handle, a big personality like this? Well, Johnny Manziel was a pretty big personality when he showed up on the doorstep of the Cleveland Browns. And there was the same sort of hoopla. There was the same national media attention and the same kind of hype. I mean, you remember what it was like. I mean, there were TV cameras everywhere, national media everywhere, and every day it was something new about Johnny Manziel. Of course, he wasn't able to play the game of football the way that Odell is able to play. But we have had a little bit of warm-up in terms of what it's like to have a huge personality here.
Yeah, and if you have LeBron James, you really get a warm up on that.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
for sure. I mean, he's he is obviously larger than life.
He's the king.
But just from a Browns standpoint, from a Cleveland Browns standpoint, we had a little craziness for a couple of years.
Yeah, we sure did. All right, Mary Kay Cabot with us. We're coming back one more time. Get her thoughts, get your thoughts on what's going on. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. You can catch the excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday with a post time of 6 p.m. Open early every day for simulcast action. And of course, the Road to the Derby contest gets you ready for the Kentucky Derby. It's free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. Mary Kay and I return one more time. We're brought to you exclusively on cleveland.com.
When my dad started Nature Stone right here in Northeast Ohio, he created a solution for age-old concrete problems: unevenness, cracking, pitting, and more. Nature Stone solves all of these problems in garages, basements, and outdoor spaces. Nature Stone is beautiful, environmentally friendly, and always affordable. Nature Stone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of March and get up to 50% off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, Dennis Maniloff will join us. He, of course, is with us every Thursday. You see us live from 6 until 7, Monday through Friday. And then you can archive it and play it any time of the day or night right here on cleveland.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, More Sports and Less Levine, with new content posted each and every day. 216-575-0403 is our number. Mary Kay Cabot is with us. Dave in Austin, Texas writes in, "Love the show. I'm a Clevelander down here in Texas, and I look forward to watching every day. The Browns have met with prospects at a number of positions, but none of them have been quarterbacks. What's the front office track record for drafting players they haven't met actually in person?" Mary Kay, is there a track record to that?
Yes, there is. I mean, they only have 30 visits, guys that they can bring into Cleveland. So, yeah, I would say that they would draft guys that they haven't brought into Cleveland. Now, they probably will have met with them somewhere along the line, either at their school or at the Combine or at the Senior Bowl. So they will meet with them somewhere for the most part. But in terms of bringing them into Cleveland for the known 30 visits that we all hear about, it doesn't have to be that to be drafted here.
The 30 visits that they get, are there practices out there, or is it just meetings?
It's just meetings, and sometimes they'll dine with them and different things like that. So no, they're not allowed to work out when they're here. Those workouts have to be conducted at their schools at this time of year, and I don't think they'll do very many of those this year.
Cleveland Bill writes in, "Hi, Mary Kay. Hi, Les. That opening commentary by Mary Kay was the best I've ever seen by her. Her best points, the enthusiasm for the Browns' needs, tempering, and negative comments will fire up Mayfield. Mary Kay has wanted Beckham here for at least a year, but I suspect there's going to be trouble on the horizon with him. Otherwise, nice job by Mary Kay." And I totally agree. You were terrific tonight.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I enjoy doing this.
It seems like you've done things like this before.
Well, actually, I've done a few, and you make it easy, Les, so it's all about you.
Mary Kay, tell me how many years now covering the Browns?
Oh, gosh, 20-something, high 20s.
20-something, high 20s.
Yeah, very high 20s.
that's pretty good. You do a great job, and you get stuff before any other local person does. But by saying that, does that concern you that the national people are sort of given stuff more than occasionally, and it makes your job tougher, or does it make your job tougher?
It does. I mean, it's incredibly difficult. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
I found out, I can't now even remember. Oh, yes, I know what it was. I know exactly what it was. I called an agent. I had a feeling that Kareem Hunt's suspension was coming down on a Friday morning. So I called an agent, and I just said, I just feel the suspension coming on today. And he said, let me get back to you on that. He hung up the phone, gave it to a national reporter. The national reporter tweeted it out immediately. And that's not the first time that's ever happened to me. That happens a lot. So, we're here, the local writers, we're working really, really hard to bring the best news that we can get to you guys. But in this day and age where, you're competing against NFL Network, they get things handed to them. ESPN gets a lot of things handed to them, basically. It makes it more difficult, but we're out here working really hard for the fans so that we can bring you the best information that we can.
How about if they got the news correct rather than being the first one to do it? Doesn't that give you credibility if you're right rather than quick?
Well, you definitely want to be both in this day and age. You want to be first, but you also have to be right. And it's very, very difficult anymore to try to break anything or to have anything or have, the exclusives. And I catch a lot of heat on Twitter, people saying, you just retweet, Ian Rappaport all the time. Well, try to remember that we are competing against people that actually work for the NFL. So it makes it a little bit more challenging and difficult, but I'm up for the challenge.
Now, you may not remember this, but one of the times you were with us on the show, you had a scoop, or you had it first, but you were on the freeway, and you probably made a good choice by not tweeting it while you drive. Why a minute or two? Does it really make that difference? If I hear it from you, even though somebody had it a minute or two, what difference does it make to me?
You know what? To the general public, I don't think it makes that much of a difference at all. I think it's more of an industry thing. People in the industry know who broke a story, and a lot of times, you build a good reputation by actually breaking stories. So people in our industry really want to be able to do that, and we try, but it's increasingly difficult. And, so we have to also bring other things to the table, like a lot of analysis and insight and behind-the-scenes looks at things. So there are other ways to be very effective at this.
All right, last question of the night. We've talked about it for the last hour, how the Browns are perceived now. Are you getting calls from radio stations, TV stations, newspapers? You're getting more than ever this offseason?
Yes, absolutely. And it does remind me of the Johnny Manziel years. I mean, I was constantly doing all sorts of national media, and I'm anticipating that it will be the same, although I think a lot of national outlets will be sending their own people here. So you'll see, Kim Jones here a lot because she's got such a great relationship with Odell. She's from NFL Network. I'm sure ESPN will have extra people here and a lot of other national news outlets too.
Well, with all those reports you do on television and radio around the country at $1,000 a pop, you're having a nice year.
Absolutely. I have to pay for college for 3 kids.
Wow. All right, that'll do it for us. Mary Kay, thank you so much. We want to do it again if it's okay with you. We'd love to have you.
Sounds good. I'll be here.
Terrific. Mary Kay Cabot does a great job covering the Cleveland Browns, both on cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. And tomorrow night we'll have Dennis Maniloff, and we'll talk Indians, I assume, but whatever's on your mind is what we will talk about. Our thanks to Mary Kay Cabot, and we'll come on back tomorrow night to do it all again at 6 o'clock. You, of course, can archive whatever you missed and watch it anytime, day or night. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.